Hi guys, this is Minahal from JN, and with us we have Fuzzy Faruque. Fuzzy is a level 3 fitness trainer, health coach, and owner of fitness studio Studio X. Fuzzy is going to help us understand what does it mean to be living a healthy lifestyle, what does it mean to be fit, and how to fight societal body image issues. Fuzzy, thank you so much for joining us today. So, how are you, Fuzzy?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm excited.
Me too. So let's start with like how you ended up in fitness and how did you get to be where you are like becoming a fitness trainer?
Well, totally by default, I never ever imagined that I would be a fitness trainer or kind of be involved in the fitness and health industry. My mother has always had, I mean, she's had the fitness studio probably for about 26, 27 years. And when I was in school, like my friends would go for classes, they'd be like, come with us. And I never even stepped foot in the studio. Like I was just like, that's not my thing. It's not for me. I ate very poorly. So I did what every teenager did back then, like eat on burgers and pizzas, gave the excuse that I didn't want to do PE, that I hurt my toe or like my ankle was twisted. Kind of always got out of things and was never fit. Even through when I went to college, when I went to London, I graduated as a graphic designer. And even there, I never really joined the gym. I hated to walk to school. Like, even though I could, I always took like the bus, or I would rather take the tube. It would take me double the time, but I didn't care. I really didn't want to walk. So, throughout university, it was like that. And then when I moved back home, that's when I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do, because my last year of graphic designing, I kind of lost interest. So it was more like, let me just kind of graduate, get this out of the way. And then I just kind of did a few projects back home, wasn't really enjoying it. My mom's pushed me towards teaching Spanish, and I did that for a bit and then kind of lost interest in that. So I hadn't really found myself very well like after graduating. And then social media kind of started coming up, and my mom didn't have an Instagram or Facebook account. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, Mom, now you need this. You need this to promote your studio. And this is what the new in thing is. So I started going in, and I made her Instagram account, made her Facebook page, started taking pictures of the trainers, of classes, putting videos up, trying to get that engagement in.
Yeah.
And because I was spending so much time at the studio, I was like, okay, fair enough. Let me just do one class here and there. And they would do like certain programs, and I was not doing anything. I was like, might as well just do a program and stuff. So slowly I kind of got into it, in the sense that I realized that what I had been doing towards my body was really bad. Like I was very low in energy, kind of my mood, you're not really like a happy person when you're like not eating well and you're not sleeping well. So when I kind of got into it, I started to feel a lot better. I started to become a little bit more conscious about what I was eating. And eventually I was just like, okay, hey, this is way better than what I was feeling like before.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mother always she always pushed education, in the sense that she was like, if you want to start teaching here, if you want people to start taking you seriously, you have to go get trained. You have to go get certified. I want you to do it like the legit way, like they do abroad. So I said, okay. So then I started doing some courses. I did some group training, slowly here and there, got certified, came back home and started to teach. And then kind of grew from there.
That's a really interesting journey. Like, do you ever feel like a certain pressure because of the influence of your mom? Like
You
now that
know,
you're certified?
when I started, I don't know if it was I was putting the pressure on myself, or I kind of felt it. But because she was quite big in the fitness industry and her classes were always packed, there was always people wanting to sign up. I kind of felt like I had to kind of live up to something. I mean, if people were going to come to me, I hope they didn't think I'll be just like her, or I'd be like, I would need to be just like her, because otherwise I'm not going to get any clients. So, I would sit into her classes and I'll make notes about how she says certain things, how she like, conducts the class. And I would try and memorize it all. And then I would conduct my class like that. But because you're so conscious about like, did I say that right? Did I do this right? My classes were a bit like all over the place. And I get sometimes now even, I get a few clients who are like literally with me from like the first day, like literally probably like 8, 9 years ago. And like, oh my God, you have changed so much from the first day. And I'm like, I know, because back then I really had no idea what I was doing. Even when you get certified and stuff, you still need experience. You need a lot of experience with clients. You need experience like giving a group class. It's not as easy as it seems to be. So eventually I kind of gave up on like, okay, I need to start focusing more on how I can teach and how I
Mm-hmm.
can train people. And slowly then I just started developing a sense of confidence, but it took some time.
That's amazing. And then, like you said, you've been doing this for like 8, 9 years now, like properly
Yeah,
certified and everything. So and now you're level three. So you're
now
at level
level three. Yeah.
three. So what's the that process like?
In the sense of kind of doing the certifications,
Yeah,
or
just a
you
quick
know,
recap so to
um,
understand.
I mean, nowadays it depends. I mean, back home, there's really no kind of any institute that tells people you need to be certified. So there are a lot of trainers still back home who are not certified. They are through experience. But I personally believe that I have learned so much through the certifications and meeting people, because the people that teach you are all master trainers who have been in the industry for 30, 40 years. I mean, the knowledge they have, you will never get it from anywhere else, like not on Instagram, not on YouTube. And also they, because they're so much older, also their master trainers have been in the business, they really didn't have like what they said, they didn't have Google to kind of type things in and be like, how to do this and what does this mean and stuff. They're like, we used to go to the library, we read books, we studied, we spoke to doctors, we spoke to like rehab specialists. But it's all kind of the same industry, right? You kind of have to work together in order to give a service to your clients. So I think that is great, because of that I've made a lot of connections. It's all about networking. And so I think that is actually a big step, and I hope that now people back home start to kind of take that seriously. But in saying that, also because the fitness industry has grown so much, you also
Mm-hmm.
have really crappy certifications. Like, you can get certified in one day, you can get certified in 2 days, and those, I mean, don't some are good, some are not. I mean, I've had my experience. I've done a few of them. They've been the worst courses I've ever done. I've not learned anything from them. But I get a paper to say that, hey, I'm certified. So it's more for the paper, less for the experience and the education part of it. So it's kind of sad in a way in that sense. So whoever kind of wants to kind of get into fitness, I would say to do a lot of research on the certification. Like, you must know what you want to do, you must kind of research a lot
Mm-hmm.
on it, because there's a lot of stuff that will pay. Like, I like one of the first nutrition courses that I did was quite expensive. I had to actually ask my grandfather to help me out. I'm like, hey, my dad said, I paid for your education, you're not doing
Mm-hmm.
anything with it, I'm not helping you out anymore. And I was like, okay. So I had to ask my grandfather, like, hey, can you please help me out, this is something I want to go through. So he said sure, because it was quite an expensive course. But it was one of the worst courses I'd ever done, because I didn't really learn anything from it, and it was so expensive. So I should have done more research. I should have kind of like, checked out, maybe reached out to a few people about nutrition, maybe, because it was all new to me. I really didn't know anything. So in that sense, I do think that you need to do a lot of research, because there is a lot of kind of crappy courses out there. And the 1 or 2 day ones are not going to help you. Like, my personal 3-1 took me 3.5, like 4 months to complete. And it was a lot of studying, a lot of research, a lot of kind of going in, training clients, working with people. So it wasn't easy. So if someone wants to kind of do, I'm like, hey, you know what? Do this course. This one is going to teach you a lot of stuff, because they really give you a lot of knowledge, and you really work with a lot of people in the fitness industry to kind of grow a lot more as a trainer.
And then you'd also say that, like a person who's looking to train with a personal trainer or fitness trainer, they should also look into their certification now. Because I never would have thought of that, but I would want to look into it.
Yes, I do think that is a major part. And I mean, the thing is, now Instagram's become so big that I find a lot of people kind of pick a trainer with their followers, and they might not even have a certification behind them, or they might not have the experience they require in order to train someone, but because they have 10,000, 15, 20,000, they have all like these really cool, and they do like these crazy jumps and these crazy push-ups, that they think like, hey, that's the trainer, that's the good, that's the best trainer out there, I'm going to sign up with them. So I find that's a bit deceiving in a way. But yeah, I definitely, if anyone wants to go to a trainer, I always, if I can't take them, I always kind of recommend them to someone that I know has the experience and the certifications to back it up.
Okay, that's
Um,
great.
yeah.
That's actually very interesting to know. And like I personally, because I'm still that person who can relate to your older self who was not
Yeah.
taking fitness very seriously. But it's good to know that, with Instagram and with the splurge of trainers that we have now and how the fitness industry is growing, that all of these things have to be taken into account.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, now that I live in Dubai, I mean, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of personal trainers and fitness people here. Like, it's insane how big it is over here. I mean, after lockdown, I mean, we were locked up here for like 3 months, and after lockdown, they opened up the gyms at 30%, then 40, then 60, and 100%. And the gyms were packed the next day. Like, there was no one. I mean, every gym was packed, every class was sold out in all the gyms, and people were like ready to kind of jump in. And then you have, well, Karachi, my studio back home, where after lockdown, like, people were still not coming, they were not taking their health seriously, they hadn't moved in 3 months, and they were still, they get out of a routine, and it's so hard for them to get back into it because it's not part of their life, and over
mhm.
here it is. And here, so I started, when I moved here, I'm like, you know what, I need to kind of know what's happening here in the fitness industry. So I started following a lot of people on Instagram, a lot of personal trainers and studios and stuff. And a lot of them over here are crazy ripped. I mean, they have insane bodies and insanely ripped and stuff with crazy followers. But because I've been following them for a while, the ones that actually had the least amount of following and who are like so humble in their like Instagram are the ones I've learned so much from. Like, they have like, and they're so easy because like maybe they don't have that many followers, or
Mhm.
people kind of don't follow them, but you're able to kind of talk to them because they don't have that many. So they actually give you time. If you ask them a question and be like, hey, you did that workout, or why did you do this? Or can you give me advice or something? And they're always so helpful to kind of get back to you. And I find
Great.
they're the best trainers. Like, literally, I've learned so much, and I've so much from them, rather than like trainers who are super ripped and like have like 100,000 followers or whatever. I mean, they don't respond to you. They're too busy, kind of working on their Instagram and whatever their life is. But I don't think that tells you how good a trainer is by their
Mhm.
followers.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think social media has put us into this like little vacuum with like every industry, that we sometimes
Yeah,
think that
exactly.
start judging people based on their followers and based on what's only happening on their social media rather than like the actual things happening outside. But that's like a whole other issue on its own. I think that,
Yeah.
but so that's not like you're talking about like being fit, and when you're talking to these trainers as well. So like, what does being fit exactly mean, and how does it differ for different people?
I mean, being fit, I mean, differs with everyone, I suppose, because everyone has different goals and different kind of, whether it's kind of wellness or physique that they want, or like, their goals as they want to lift like 100 kg deadlift, or they want to kind of lift the 4 kg deadlift. So it kind of depends what the person's goal is at the end of it. Ideally, I mean, if you want to get fit, obviously you kind of work on your stamina and you build your strength. I mean, weight loss should be the back end of it, should not be the priority of it, unless you have a medical condition, like an underlying condition where you have high cholesterol, you're very overweight, and becomes then a health concern. It doesn't become like physical that I need to be skinny, but it's a health concern that later on throughout the years, if you don't look after yourself now, you're going to be in a worse position. But I mean, fit can be in any way, can be different. Unfortunately, I don't know, back home, with just my, like, from what I've seen, in my personal opinion, is that there's no such thing as fit. It's just the quick fix to lose weight. For a goal is to, and the goals are like, I have to go on a summer holiday. I have to wear a dress. I have to, I have to wear a sari for a wedding. So they're very short term goals. They're nothing that it's long term in the sense that you can be like, hey, okay, let me help you throughout the year to work. But they're like, I need to wear a sari in 2 weeks. I need a flat stomach. Tell me what to do. So there are no like long-term goals or no kind of wellness or lifestyle in that sense. They're very short-term, and they're all like more physical. Like there's nothing that comes from the inside. I rarely do I get a client that comes to me and say, hey, I have diabetes, or I have high blood pressure. Can you help me out with me so I can live a healthier life? Like rarely do I get a client like that.
So that I absolutely can see that happening. And then what would you say, like, because everyone has their, like, what you said right now, then does anybody ever come to you for like if they want to live a healthy lifestyle? Like you already said rarely, and then what does it mean to even be living a healthy lifestyle compared to living a fit lifestyle? Where does that interplay?
I mean, healthy lifestyle, like some, I would say, who's just kind of physically active, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. You kind of just incorporate some sort of movement, whether it's walking outside, whether it's going for a jog, doing some activity with your kids, just kind of generally kind of moving more, and taking wellness into consideration, where you are able to move pain free, like you're able to sit and stand without your knees hurting and your back hurting. You're able to pick up something from the floor without like your back getting jammed up. You're able to do functional things that you're meant to do. I mean, just general things to do in life where your body doesn't stop you from doing those movements.
You know how there's this thing where everybody assumes when you're living healthy and when you're living a fit lifestyle, you're going to be skinny. True or false?
I mean, not true at all. I mean, people who are born with the genes to be thin or have a smaller body frame, it's because they've been born with it and they have the genes, and that's what they were born with. They weren't, that's what their skeleton is made of. I mean, growing up, I had one of my closest cousins. She ate so much all the time. She would eat like 3 pizzas in front of me and wouldn't even put on a pound. And then there was me who would eat anything, and like automatically I would put on weight. And then you start to hate those people. But I mean, that's how her metabolism worked. I mean, her mother was, her father, her genes were different than my parents. So, she was able to kind of do that. But I mean, in saying that, when back home, skinny, it's unfortunately people kind of do very short term, like crash diets and fat diets to get there. I'm not sure where this whole kind of pressure has come from in our society, honestly. I don't know where it comes that, the skinnier you are, the happier you are. Maybe you might be able to wear nicer clothes. Maybe you might, maybe things might fit you better. But I don't think that has anything to do with happiness. Like, you'll get a few compliments here and there, like, hey, oh, I love your dress, or you look amazing in the dress. But that doesn't say that any size won't look the same. Like, I mean, you can be any size and wear certain clothes and carry yourself it doesn't matter how you need to
Absolutely.
have that confidence. You carry yourself a certain way and you have that glow. You don't have to be skinny. But in saying that, back home, a lot of women kind of they'll rather do the crash diets than kind of do the small changes that take a longer time. So they will eventually, like, I would say, and now a lot, like, most of the time I get a lot of messages saying, hey, I have a lot of hair fall, I have deficiencies, I'm not sleeping well, I have eye bags under my eyes. And it's like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, we're doing keto, we're not eating carbs. I'm like, oh, okay, then that's the problem. The problem is you're not eating properly. So of course you're going to have these problems. Like, if you're on like a diet like keto that is so famous and like everyone wants to do it back home, when keto first came out in Karachi, our attendance literally fell by like 50%, because when you're on keto, you have no energy to work out, you have no energy to move. So people would rather sit at home and eat whatever their high protein and high fats, and they would prefer to do that than actually come and work out for that 1 hour, because that was easier for them. So because they were in keto and they didn't have any energy, they couldn't come to work out. And even they did come to work out, they were dying. They couldn't even keep up. They were done within the 5 minutes. So they stayed home and they just ate the keto diet. They lost their weight. They became skinny. And it was all like word of mouth, right? I tell someone, oh my God, I was on keto. You're like, wow, you lost 20 pounds. And then it's a constant cycle. Everyone's like, did you see Fuzzy? Do you see that person? You see her? She lost 20 kilos. She did it. And but no one actually like asks about, like, no one sees anything else. Like, it's just like, oh, she became skinny, but they don't see that the person is losing incredible amounts of hair, like their nails don't grow anymore, they have zero nutrition, their space becomes pale. You automatically see, like, just it's just pale. There's no color, there's no like there's no pinkness to the skin, there's nothing, because there's just no nutrition in your body. Big dark circles, but they're covered with like a caked out makeup, like, so you can't really tell. um and so yeah, it's not really healthy in any way. I mean, I understand people that have like short term goals and they want to lose their weight very fast. They maybe don't have the time to invest in like the slower, fine, do keto for a short term, but
Mhm.
I wouldn't recommend it as a long term, something long term to do.
So, right now, when you just to like just give a recap of what you just said in the last few minutes, that there is a societal issue as to how we understand everyone's body image, when we don't realize that someone has different metabolisms and they can be gaining or losing weight depending on their own, physical fitness.
Crazy to for us to compare ourselves to like the models that we see online and on like the magazines. I mean, they were born that way. They didn't really, I mean, yeah, okay, they tone a bit, they do a few things here and there, but they were born with that body and they were born that way. So you really, how can I look like that? They didn't really go, I mean, they didn't go, I mean, how can I look like
Absolutely.
that?
But then what would you, and you also said, like keto is not good long term. And like a lot of these diets, they're not good long term, they're not sustainable. So what would you say that can be improved on the messaging coming in from on maybe on social media or from studio facilities
Mm,
to get this across? Or maybe even like, this is of course being very ideological, because we know that it's going to not happen like within the
yeah.
snap of the finger. It's a long-term plan. But what would you, if you were to implement something, what would you do if you had the power to do that?
Um, Implement, I don't know if I had the power or anything, but I mean, what's made a difference for me is honestly surrounding myself with supportive people and positive people that are not always like be like, hey, you put on weight, hey, you've lost weight, hey, why are your thighs so big, like constantly questioning what you look like. I've been very fortunate in the sense that I do kind of sometimes, I mean, from people that I don't know, get comments on my body. I mean, recently also on Instagram, I got comments about my thighs. Like, your thighs are so big and your thighs are this and that. And it's like, luckily I'm confident, or I've kind of become confident enough to be who I am, right? So I'm not really hurt by what they say, or it doesn't like, I'm not like, oh my God, my thighs are so fat right now, what am I going to do? I think people are commenting it, but these comments can do affect a lot of people that don't have that mental stability or don't have that kind of strength in them. Because I mean, body image is, I mean, a lot of people, it's all have to do mentally as well. Like, if you're not mentally stable, it does affect you, because when you don't have that confidence in your body and someone then comments negatively on it, it does affect you. So I don't know how and why people feel the need to comment on someone's body when they don't even know what the person is going through even. I mean, a lot of people go through weight loss, okay, maybe because they're in depression, or maybe, I mean, and the same thing, people put on weight for the same reasons. They
Mhm.
can be a lot of reasons why people's weight fluctuates, but you only see them on the outside where they're out and about, or maybe at a friend's house, but you really don't know what's going on in that person's head, or back home. So I don't see why the need to comment on a person's body. Like, it just seems so pointless, and I don't know why people do it.
So as an influencer, you do feel like, you said it yourself that you when you went into this, you do have a certain level of confidence that you don't let the pressure get to you, but there is some, like you said, people do comment and everything. So you just have to let that go as an influencer, right?
Yeah, I just kind of laugh it off, to be honest. If it's hard. I mean, I mean, I just find it amusing, and I think maybe also because I've kind of educated myself on nutrition, and I've educated myself that I know how things work. And unfortunately, obviously, not everyone is at that level because nutrition is, I mean, it's a science. If you don't study it, if you don't learn it, you won't know how your mind and body work, and how like things and how your body works and stuff like that. So so I do try and not to get offended, but I try to then kind of, if I'm offended at that point, I'm like, okay, this is something ridiculous. I can't believe someone said that. I'll take my time. I won't respond then and there, but then I'll respond with like an educated answer. Like I'll be like, you know what? This is the reason, or you need to realize that blah 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 type thing. So it's kind of educating them on certain things. Um, like the lady that commented on my thighs recently, I was like, okay, whoa. And then later I'm like, okay, let me just kind of see if I can change her perspective, or like how she kind of thinks, so, certain things. So I first kind of, I'm like, firstly, one should never comment on someone's body, because I mean, it's not in anyone's power. It's not in any, no one's in any position to do that. And no one's in any position to bring someone down, especially when you don't even know the person. And then I'm like, you know what? Yes, maybe my thighs have become bigger right now because I'm not training as much. I was spinning 5-6 times a day before. I was doing a lot of cardio before. I was cycling a lot. So yeah, my legs were more toned last year. This year I'm not training as much. I'm not as hard. So maybe yes, maybe I've lost my muscle mass, maybe a thing, but you kind of have to slightly kind of take it and then educate them in return. You can't get offended because, or kind of, sometimes I block them when there's just absolutely ridiculous what they
Yeah.
say. But sometimes you just kind of have to educate them on certain things. Like, hey, you know what you said wasn't right. But you know what? Let me kind of tell you where I'm coming from and stuff, and see where it goes. I mean, there's no harm in that either.
Yeah, so it's interesting how, because of course, I guess it comes with being a social media influencer that everyone assumes they have a right to say whatever they want to you.
Yeah.
But also from the other point of view, like if you're talking about, as you're a fitness influencer and you're going to be discussing a certain diet, or if you're like doing a certain how you actually do this, like you manage your meal prep,
Yeah.
and you do the calorie counting and everything, then how do you choose between what information to give across and what information to not give across to your
From
followers?
now, like let's say now when I like post like what I eat and stuff, I understand that yes, meal prepping is hard. I understand it is time consuming. I mean, it's very time consuming, to be honest. I mean, right now I've actually signed up with a company so they can send me the meals, because it's like it is time consuming. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, who wants to like but no, I don't, not about people prepping, but I want them to kind of know what the plate should look like. You should have like your protein, you should have fat, and you should have your carbs. That's what a healthy plate should look like, and somewhat kind of portion control it in that sense. So not really about meal prepping and anything like that, because I know that is very difficult,
Mm-hmm.
especially with my clients. When I do give them a plan, I give them the option. I'm like, you know what, you can weigh all your food, or you can kind of eyeball it, in the sense that your protein should be this much, your carb should be this much, and just kind of eyeball it, because it is, who wants to weigh their food all the time before they eat it? So unless you have like a goal in mind, or where you're kind of very focused in that sense, like let's say like I am right now, because I haven't been able to train all year. I've recently just started very slowly. So I'm now focused to kind of get my body back to where it was. So in order to get there, I want to be my 100%. I want to make sure I'm eating right, I'm getting the right calories, the right macros. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do to kind of get me there. But yes, I don't expect everyone to do that. Right now, I'm at a fixed goal where I kind of want to get myself back to where I was somewhat. But not everyone kind of has that goal also, and it's too strict. It is very strict. But it's just more about kind of looking at the plate in that sense. Yeah, that what I would say. I would like people to see that I'm eating carbs, that I hope, I mean, my journey has just started, but I hope to lose the few pounds that I put on during lockdown. I hope to just kind of not really lose weight, but kind of just tone myself back up to what I was before, just so that I feel like I'm strong. I was feeling very weak this year, just because I couldn't really train, I couldn't do anything. I had a few injuries that kind of prevented me from even walking. These things are what I kind of want to kind of get back at, and slowly I hope to kind of, and that's what kind of mentally is also helping me feel better and feel good about myself, that I can slowly kind of get there.
How did you what would you say? Because you know how everyone's saying that another winter lockdown might be happening. What would you say? What is the balance between choosing, you know, your mental health over your like also trying to just remain fit? Because sometimes you let go and you don't realize that it's affecting your mental
You
health.
let,
Like,
yeah, you let go, but like to say, end of the day, we were living through a pandemic, which is something we've never lived through. I mean, when have we ever been locked up in a house or in an apartment or even in a room like a door room? We've never been locked up before. And food is comfort. I mean, that's what we look through when we're happy, when we're sad, when we're going through emotions, anything, food is what we get comfort in. So I find like it's very difficult to kind of to be so hard on yourself, because I mean what we're going through is not normal. Like it's literally, it's what I mean, what the world is going through isn't normal. So if you kind of let yourself go for a bit, I mean, you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. I mean, unless you have like an underlying condition like diabetes and you're eating ice cream every single day, yes, that is going to affect you. It's going to make, your condition is going to get worse. I mean, doctors are not easily available anymore. Hospitals are not safe. So
mhm.
yes, in that sense, you have to look after your health. But in the way, I wouldn't really, I would say just more move for your mental health and your mental well-being, just to kind of make sure your joints are still moving, your body's still moving, and just kind of just it should more about movement and wellness rather than kind of, oh my god, I've put on weight or I need to lose weight, and kind of work in that sense. I mean, if your body will evolve every time, and you just have to give it time. You put on weight, you lose on weight, you get strong, you lose your strength. So I mean, it's all a certain cycle. So wherever you kind of left off, you can always get back there. This doesn't say that you can't go where you were. I mean, I've lost all my strength I built. Like last year, I worked for a year. Before my wedding, I was working my hardest, lifting weights and everything. And now I can't even do 2% of what I was doing last year. But it's at least I'm starting from somewhere, and eventually I'll get back there. But you have to start from somewhere, and that whatever that starting point is going to get you closer to wherever you want to be.
That's so reassuring to hear for a fitness trainer that you know it's okay that if you were let go during during lockdown, and of course, like you had, everyone has a different relationship with food. Thank you so much, Fuzzy. This has been very, very
Yeah.
informative and actually
Thank
very
you.
self-assuring for me because I do not have the best relationship with food or fitness. I'm trying, but it's very good hearing it from an influencer who's gone through it herself, who's actually like still trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle during
Yeah,
the
I
pandemic.
do believe your health and fitness it's a personal journey. Like it definitely is. I mean, my mother had a studio for 25 years, and I never stepped foot till 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So you have to find your own way, and you have to find what suits you and what doesn't suit you. So I mean, it take your time. It
And
really,
it's different for
there's no push
everyone.
it. Yeah,
It is, I think the one of the
exactly.
biggest things we said is that like it being healthy and fit does not mean that you're going to be skinny. And I think that's a very important message for people back home to hear.
Yeah.
Um, especially like
And even
young
for yeah,
girls.
even for me, like my Instagram has completely changed. I'm following more people who are more kind of body positive,
Mhm.
who kind of speak about normal stuff and kind of look normal and stuff. And I think that's also helped me, because I'm not actually surrounding myself with people that I can't relate to. Now the people that I follow are people I can relate to. I mean, they think like me. They are fitness trainers who don't have a six pack. I mean, I don't have a six pack, and so I feel like I can relate to them, and it's okay to kind of be who I am also. So I think that also helps a lot because I mean, our life is revolved around social media, and
Mm-hmm.
especially with lockdown and stuff. I mean, what do we do? We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. That everyone's kind of fitness journey is personal. You shouldn't kind of compare yourself to anyone. What works for someone doesn't not necessarily work for you. And the slow, I mean, I find that, I mean, it's very like cliche to say, but small changes what make the biggest difference, because the small changes are what's going to eventually become into a habit, and that habit then becomes part of your life, like brushing your teeth in the morning. So if you decide to kind of make the small changes that are going to get you closer to your, like for me right now, it's getting my 10,000 steps in. That's it. I literally, like, that's like my small goal that I have, and I'm just trying to do that every single day. And that's kind of like gives me a bit of something to work towards. So just kind of small change. So now, I'm not as, my body's not as stiff as more. I feel like my injury is kind of getting slightly better because I'm moving more. I'm not thinking about it so much. So I just find that small changes eventually kind of make a massive difference into your life, because it just becomes habit, and then you unconsciously start to do it. And when you unconsciously start to do something, that's when you realize that it becomes a part of you, a part of your routine. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
I really enjoyed this too. Thank you so much for agreeing, like joining us to do this. I'm very glad that we can get this information out there. And like I said, that I would not have, I could not have picked a better like fitness influencer to do
No,
so.
thank you so much. And thank you so much.